Hi, it's Anne Marie and
Tonda McKay.
my name is Anne Marie Zanzal, Tonda McKay. We are here for our weekly chats that we've been having every 6:30 p.m. Central Time on every Wednesday night to talk about some of the stuff that's important to the later in life community. And I'm laughing because our puppy is underneath us and he is not being very good right now. So, what we're going to talk about tonight is finding community. And sometimes that's a really hard thing to do when we are in the process of coming out later in life. So, Tonda has her. This is how Tonda finds community.
Yeah.
She wears her.
Hey.
So
That's not always possible, though.
that is not always possible. So some of the things that I would like you to do, a little bit of housekeeping. If you want to comment on the chat today, you need to, and you want to go comment on as yourself, you need to go to streamyard.com/Facebook, and you are able to comment as yourself. We do have a handout for this Facebook Live. Barbara Rowlandson, it will be, if you message her, she will be able to give you a copy of the handout. So, finding community, how do you do it?
Well, the obvious answer is Facebook, right?
Right. Okay. So I want to share a story with you all. So I'm somebody that it took me a really long time to come out. It took honestly, for about 10 years from when I, started to realize I was gay started to acknowledge that I was gay. I was always somebody who sort of had it in the back of my brain. To when I started to really come out and to live authentically as a gay woman. And the thing that I did, it took me 3 times, believe it or not. And the thing I did differently this time was in 2016 was to Google late in life lesbian. And when I Googled late in life lesbian, I found a support group for women coming out later in life. Many of you may have known that support group. It was the Lily Page back in the day.
Mhm.
We can say the name now because it no longer exists. And that group helped me tremendously. When I joined that group, there's about 180 members to it. And by the time it was closed down, there was about 2,400. But when I went on Facebook and saw that community, all of a sudden there were women talking about some of the things that I had only thought in my head before. So it was such an affirmation that I was not alone. So there's lots of different social media groups out there. There's stuff on Facebook, there's stuff on Reddit, there's stuff on Discord, and there's also a really great way to find community, and that's Meetup. And talk about Meetup and how people, like, besides looking for LGBT groups, what other kind of groups can they look for? Like things lesbians do or things queer people do.
Well, I mean, hiking, there's probably a regular hiking group and an LGBTQ hiking group. The way you find community is you look at what you want to do.
Yes, exactly. So if you're a hiker, join a bunch of hiking groups. If you're, it doesn't have to be specifically.
If you're a quilter and you like to stay at home, there are lesbians or queer people that do that.
Yes.
You know.
And also too, a lot of lesbians we joke about are like kayaking. That is a great sport to take up if you haven't done that. Like a friend of ours said, gosh, if I had known so many lesbians were on the water, I would have taken up kayaking a very long time ago.
So there's a lot of lesbians
that do kayaking. It's sort of like the sport. So Tonda, you had your first realization of community playing a sport. Can you talk about that story?
Yes, I was going to a Unitarian Universalist church, and they had a little softball team. It was a little fall ball team, and I just wanted to find people. I wasn't really even thinking about community, and so I went, and there was about 5 or 6 of us walking back from the game, and I mean, looking back on it, I should have known that everybody there was gay, but I did not. I was about 23 years old. And so we're walking back, and somebody makes a joke about one of the girls sliding into second base, and the lady on their team falling on top of her. And then there was just a bunch of just kind of off color jokes. And I realized that I was in the middle of 6 lesbians, and I hung out with them for years, really, and went to parties. And it was so much more than softball, because I met their friends and their friends. I met someone that I dated for a long time. I mean, so any type of sport like that, if you are older, pickleball is like a huge thing right now.
Yeah, a lot of people are playing pickleball, and that's tennis. It's like a modified tennis. And a lot of people that within the LGBTQ community are playing pickleball. One of the things I'd like to suggest, can you in the comments maybe suggest some of the ways you found community? Because we don't have all the answers. I know you all have a bunch of answers too about finding community. We have with the handout, we have softball, bowling, rugby. Rugby is a great sport, but it's for young people. Kickball, tennis, basketball, soccer, racquetball, hiking, running. But one of the things we forgot to mention was the ultimate lesbian sport.
Golf. Right, Stephanie
Cooper, who commented on this, is the ultimate golfer. So that's very appropriate.
If you want to know anything about golfing with lesbians,
talk to Stephanie Cooper.
Message Stephanie directly.
Yes,
because she knows.
Yes, Stephanie is an excellent golfer. She really is good. So other ways to find community. Tonda and I, before this broadcast, were talking a little bit about dating and finding community via dating. And and you can't make us laugh, Stephanie, while we're on the thing.
You can.
So we were talking about dating, and one of the things that you can do, you're on the dating apps, you've been dating people and stuff like that. Sometimes you go out and you meet somebody for coffee, or you go out, for drinks or a date, and you just don't click, but you like them as a person.
And they go, well, this isn't.
Yeah,
I don't feel this.
Yeah, this isn't a match, all those things like that. But if you like them and you enjoy their company, and it may not be a romantic match, but if you like them and you enjoy their company, that's a good way to start building community. Because the thing is that people have friends, so you become friends with one person, they may invite you to an event. That's a really nice way to begin to build your community. If, you start doing the dating and, you're just not connecting.
And back in the day, that's the only way that you found people, is to find someone, and then they were having a party, and even if you didn't like them that much, you would go to their party and you would meet other people at that party. It's still a great way to find people, because some people just don't like to get on social media. Some people just don't like to be on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And here's another thing: if you're single and you're out there, find that one safe lesbian couple friend that's been together or whatever. They're great for instead of being one wingman, they're great. If you go out with a couple, they know you're the single one or whatever.
Yeah.
And they know a lot of their friends. So
what do you mean by safe?
I mean, if you go out, I was basically taking about dating. If you go out with someone,
mm-hmm.
they're going to think you're together.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. It's not like hetero dating.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, she's with that person. No, she's just my friend. But
there's a bunch of LGBTQ centers. Okay. So this is a really good idea. So if you're a little further along on your journey, I mean, you're not just coming out, but you've been going, you're several years in, you may be totally out. If you've had to divorce, you may have done that. LGBTQ centers are always looking for volunteers, and they're also always looking for people to facilitate later in life groups. If that is something that you're comfortable doing, or if you need a couple tips, you can ask me. I've been facilitating groups for years. that is a really wonderful way to make your community larger, but also to help the queer community. Because a lot of times later in life groups in the LGBTQ centers are often done just by volunteers. And so that is a really nice way to start to build your groups.
Mhm.
There is a great website on in the internet called Clearlink Community Center that has a listing of all the LGBTQ centers in the world.
I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, Barb found it. I knew about it, but Barb put it on the sheet. So wonderful, Barbara Rowlandson did that. That is a really great resource because you can put in any place in the world and see if there's an LGBTQ center. And
like in LA, if you're someplace big like LA, they have like dance. They have it's just like a regular community center. They have everything there.
But the smaller community centers often focus on the younger people, kids that are, younger, under 30, that are coming out and maybe trans, non-binary, gay, or, lesbian, part of the family. But if you're somebody who's under 30 and watching this is perfect for you. That's a good way to build community. But also, too, you can volunteer. And so you can volunteer for your local LGBTQ center and find a way, meet people that way. pflag. pflag is an organization. It's parents of families of lesbian and gays. It's an old organization. It was started, I think, in the 70s, when it was still like shameful to have a gay child. And pflag does a lot to promote the queer community. If you go and volunteer with them, I know some people who've come out later in life who have found a lot of community within the pflag community, because usually they're very accepting and welcoming of anybody who is coming out. Some other ideas, business. Tonda, tell what you do with the.
Well, Nashville has a huge LGBT chamber, just a gay and lesbian chamber of commerce, and I know that Atlanta has a huge one, and it's a way to not only maybe get some business if you're an entrepreneur, or a lot of big corporations, they will send somebody that you can go to your supervisor or whatever and say,
if you're out,
or even if you say I'm an ally, they don't know. We need to be represented here because of diversity. And so there's a lot of people that go to the LGBTQ chamber that work for companies that aren't necessarily gay. They're just
representing their companies, and companies love it because, I'm going to be really honest, it's a diversity spend for them. So you can go to your company if you're comfortable enough as a out queer person, or as Tonda said, as an ally, and talk to them about,
you can tell them you're an ally.
But you can, but that's a good way to meet community that way. There's also the Rotary clubs. I would check those out. There's almost every town now has some sort of pride celebration. So your local pride committee, that is another way to find community. A couple of my clients have done some really interesting things. One of my newer clients, she's been out about a year now. She actually joined the local LGBTQ Realtors Association in her town. It was an opportunity to meet a bunch of people who are LGBTQ, and they've been very welcoming to her and very affirming, and she's made quite a few friends for that. That same friend, her name is Erin Pendleton. She's in these groups. She also did something called One Gay Thing. If you're in some of my other groups, you will see that we do that, the One Gay Thing, which is a challenge to yourself to do one gay thing a week or one gay thing a month, something to sort of just push you a little bit further on the journey. And then, of course, there's always the arts, community theater, joining a choir, joining a band. I know Portland has a gay women's choir. and there are visual art clubs. You can also volunteer at art, galleries, open mic nights, creative writing groups. And going back to the business, I know people who also join like Lambda Legal, things like that. If that is your profession and you're looking to meet other gay people and queer people.
And one thing that we haven't mentioned that I have always had a lot of success meeting people is an open and affirming church.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't even like if
Or
you're
synagogue,
not or synagogue
mosque.
or mosque
Mm-hmm.
or anything like that. I mean, if you say, I'm not really churchy, go to the Unitarian Universalist. There's like, they're very, very, very open-minded, and there's all kinds of people there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I would find people to play softball with, find people they often go out after church or, that is really, but make sure it's open and affirming.
Yeah,
because,
let me just, open means that, yes, they welcome LGBTQ members, but affirming means that if you go to your wife at the church and you sit like her like this, they don't go, they like don't even notice. So that's what I mean by an affirming church.
And even here in Nashville, in the Belt Buckle, there's probably 8 or 9 open and affirming churches.
Yes.
And you get to know the people that come to church all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
they're just really a great way to meet people that way.
Mm-hmm. So I love Barb's suggestion, the Society of Beer Drinking Ladies. I need to find that. Based in Ontario, Canada. I know.
You need to find the wine drinking
ladies. The wine drinking ladies. So that's great. So I think, do you have any other suggestions?
I don't have suggestions. I have comments.
Okay, go ahead.
So on Facebook, some of the groups are 30,000 large, and what you see posted in the group is not necessarily how everybody in the group feels. So if you're looking for community and you're like, they're really kind of bitchy or whatever, it's the 7 people out of 30,000 that post all the time. And so the other thing that you can do is if you are in the middle of nowhere and none of this works for you, you can go in these groups and say, hey, I'm creating a quilting group for, Spangle Belt, Iowa, or whatever. And I want, you'll have people popping up saying, oh, I'm here, I'm there. And you can quickly create a group on your own by creating your own Facebook group.
Christine Tarpington, who is in the Vita Nova group and is also in a couple of other groups, what she did is she lives in the middle of the country and she started a group for LGBTQ youth in her community. And what was amazing, all these queer people that she didn't know reached out to her when they heard she was starting this group to help, because queer people are queer people are everywhere.
Stephanie, you're killing me.
Yeah. So, the thing is that a lot of times queer people also want to help. Mm-hmm. They want to be there and they want to support the kids, but they also want to find community and things like that. Mm-hmm. So I think do you have any other comments? Oh, there's lots of Facebook groups. Yes, there's Vita Nova. There's Later in Life Lesbian Support and Forum. I know there's the Late Bloomers Facebook group. That there are so many Facebook groups that, oh, I have another suggestion too. So you're new to the LGBTQ community. You can also, like in the search bar, search LGBTQ, Springfield, Massachusetts, lesbian group Springfield, and you just keep using all different terms and join as many as you can. I know it's sort of hard to put yourself out there at first, but it is a really nice way to just, even if you're a lurker and you just sort of read it to see if there's anything going on and to see how active the community is, it is a wonderful way to start building your community.
And of course, there's the 21 lesbian bars, and there's the bars which you probably are not going to find someone to date, but you can go there. My recommendation is to go there a little bit early and have a beer when it's not so crowded and you meet people. I mean, if you drink or whatever. There's also LGBTQIA meetings,
which are sober meetings and stuff like that. So those are our suggestions. We can't make this fill a half an hour, but I hope that you all enjoyed them. If you have any more, please let me know. Put them in the group or put them in the comments.
And any golfing questions,
ask Stephanie Cooper. So another thing too, next week we are going to talk about lesbian dating. We're going to do 101 next week, and 2 weeks from now we're going to do 102. So invite your friends. I'd love to have a lot of people here to talk about lesbian dating. That is a hot topic. All right, y'all, have a wonderful night. We love you. See you soon. Bye-bye.